Welcome to my channel. What if I told you that learning a new language doesn't need talent, long hours, or expensive classes? You don't need to move to another country. You don't need to study for hours every day. And you don't need to remember hundreds of grammar rules. You just need a few simple steps and a smart strategy. Sounds too good to be true? I understand. You've probably tried before. Maybe you started learning English or another language. You opened a textbook. You made some flashcards. You listened to grammar lessons. And at first, it was exciting. You felt motivated. But slowly, it got harder. You forgot words. You didn't understand the grammar. You got bored. And maybe one day you stopped. That's okay. It's not your fault. The problem is not you. The problem is the method. Most people learn the wrong way, but today I will show you a better way, a real way, a way that works. This is the way I teach my students, and this is the way I use when I learn new languages. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. In this video, I will show you how to learn any language, even if you are a complete beginner. Even if you don't have time, even if you feel shy or scared, you will learn how to train your brain, how to listen, how to read, how to speak, and how to build strong daily habits. No pressure. No boring exercises, just smart, simple steps. This video is for you if you want to speak a new language with confidence. And yes, this works for English, Spanish, French, Chinese, or any language you want. Stay with me, because everything is about to change. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why most people fail to learn a language. Let me tell you a story, a true story. A student of mine, let's call him Omar, came to me feeling very sad. He said, "Teacher, I've been learning English for 5 years. I go to classes. I do all the exercises. I even try to speak sometimes. But when I talk to a native speaker, my mind goes blank. I forget everything. Why?" And I could feel his frustration. He wasn't lazy. He worked hard. But still, he felt like a beginner. He wasn't alone. Many learners feel this way. Maybe you do too. Maybe you've studied for a long time. You've memorized grammar rules. You've done hundreds of exercises. But when it's time to speak, you can't. When someone talks fast, you don't understand. When you write, you make the same mistakes again and again. Why does this happen? The truth is simple. Most people fail to learn a language not because they are bad at learning, but because they are learning the wrong way. Yes, the wrong way. Let me explain. In many schools, the method is always the same. You open a textbook. You read a grammar rule. Then you do exercises. Fill in the blank. Choose the correct verb. Match the sentences. After that, maybe you read a story. But you don't really understand it. You look at a long list of new words. You use a dictionary. And then, in the next class, you do it all again. This is not language. This is not how we learn to speak. Think about this. How does a baby learn to speak? A baby doesn't start with grammar. A baby doesn't study rules. A baby listens. A baby watches. A baby hears the same words again and again, every day, And one day the baby starts to speak, slowly. One word, then two words, then a sentence, then many sentences, all without studying. The baby learns because of something very important. The brain learns from input. What is input? Input means the language you hear and read. When you listen to English, your brain starts to learn the sounds. When you read simple stories, your brain starts to see how the words work together. This is how we learn. But in many schools, we don't focus on input. We focus on output. That means we focus on speaking and writing before we are ready. That's like trying to run before you can walk. Here is another big problem. Many learners try to translate in their heads. They hear a sentence in English. They think of the meaning in their own language. Then they try to answer. But the brain is slow when it has to translate. You can't have a real conversation if your brain is always going back and forth between languages. Translation is normal in the beginning, but if you always do it, you will always be slow. You won't become fluent. You will always feel tired after speaking. That's why thinking in the language is so important. But we'll talk more about that later. Some learners try to remember every new word. They write long lists. They study flashcards. They highlight every word in the dictionary. But here's the problem. The brain doesn't remember words that it doesn't see often. If you learn a word one time and never see it again, you will forget it. That's normal. That's how memory works. We remember what we see often. If you read and listen every day, you will meet the same words again and again, and then you will remember them naturally, without trying. Another mistake is focusing only on grammar. Some students think, if I know grammar, I can speak well. But that's not true. Grammar is just one part of the language. You need vocabulary. You need listening. You need confidence. You need practice. You need to hear how the language really sounds. Grammar can help, but only if it's used in real language, inside stories, inside conversations, inside real-life examples. Grammar without context is like learning how to drive by reading a book about cars. You need to get in the car. You need to drive. And maybe the biggest reason why people fail, they give up. They feel tired. They feel confused. They feel like they are not good enough. They stop because they think, I can't do it. But remember Omar? He thought the same thing. Until he changed the way he learned. I told him, stop translating. Stop memorizing grammar rules. Stop studying words you never use. Instead, listen more, read more, use easy English every day. Even 10 minutes is enough. And slowly, something changed. He didn't feel tired anymore. He started understanding more. He started speaking with more confidence. And now, he helps other students learn. Maybe you feel like Omar. Maybe you've tried and failed. That's okay. You are not alone. Most people fail at language learning, but not because they are lazy or weak. They fail because they don't know the right way. They don't know how the brain learns. They don't know how to enjoy the process. And they don't know how to build habits that work. But what if there's a better way? A way that works for children, adults, busy people, and even lazy learners. A way that doesn't need stress, pressure, or fear. A way that feels natural, simple, and fun. That's what we're going to explore in the next chapter. Get ready, because now we start the real journey. Chapter 2. How your brain learns a language, even if you're not trying. Let's think about something simple. How does a child learn to speak? A baby doesn't sit in class. A baby doesn't study grammar rules. A baby doesn't write words in a notebook. But after 1 year, a baby understands many words. After 2 years, the baby can speak. Not perfectly, but clearly. By age 3 or 4, the child is speaking full sentences. The child can answer questions, tell stories, ask for things, and even joke. All of this happens without any formal study. How? How does the brain do this? The answer is input. This is the secret. This is the key to learning any language. Babies hear the same words again and again. They hear simple, real language every day from their parents, from songs, from cartoons, from stories. The words are not difficult. The sentences are short, and the meaning is clear. This is called comprehensible input. It means language that is easy enough to understand. Not too easy, not too hard, just right. When the brain receives comprehensible input, it starts to learn automatically, even if you don't notice it. You see, your brain is smart, very smart, but your brain doesn't like pressure. It doesn't like force. If you say, "I must remember this word," your brain gets tired. But if you just relax and listen to a story, and that same word comes again and again, your brain remembers it without stress. That's why we say, you don't need to remember words. You need to meet them again and again in easy, fun ways. This is one of the most important ideas in language learning. Let me give you an example. Imagine the word apple. The first time you hear it, maybe you don't know it. Someone points to a red fruit and says, "Apple." You think, "Oh, maybe that's what it means." The next day, you see a cartoon and someone says, "I like apples," and you see a picture. The day after, you hear a song, "I eat an apple every day." Again and again, the word appears. You don't write it down. You don't study it. But you understand. And then one day, you say the word apple. You speak it without thinking. That's how the brain learns. The problem is, most people don't learn this way. In schools, we often study the hard way. We read long vocabulary lists. We do grammar exercises. We try to speak before we understand. And then we feel tired. We feel slow. We think, "I'm not good at languages." But it's not true. The brain is not the problem. The method is the problem. When we give the brain too much difficult input, it shuts down. When we give the brain easy, enjoyable input, it wakes up and starts to learn fast. Let me tell you another story. My friend Anna wanted to learn French. She took classes, but it felt boring. She didn't understand the teacher. She didn't like the exercises. After a few months, she wanted to quit. But then she tried something different. She started watching French cartoons for kids with subtitles. At first, it was difficult, but she understood the pictures. She heard the same words again and again, She started to enjoy it. Every day she watched just 15 minutes. But after 3 months, she understood more. After 6 months, she could repeat some of the phrases. And after a year, she could speak in short sentences. She didn't try to remember. She just listened, watched, and enjoyed. This is how the brain works. When you enjoy something, your brain learns faster. When you relax, your memory improves. When the meaning is clear, your brain saves the words automatically. This is true for children and adults. It doesn't matter if you are 7 or 70. The brain loves easy, fun learning. So don't make it hard. Don't force it. Just give it what it needs, comprehensible input. So how do you do this? You start with easy stories. You listen to simple podcasts. You read short texts that you understand. You don't worry if you don't know every word. You don't need a dictionary. If the meaning is clear, that's enough. Slowly, your brain learns. Every time you see a word again, it becomes stronger in your mind. That's how you grow vocabulary, not by force, but by frequency. Now maybe you're asking, but what about grammar? Don't I need to study grammar? Here's the answer. Grammar is important, but grammar is not the beginning. When you hear and read the language often, grammar comes naturally. You see how words connect. You feel the patterns. Later, you can study grammar to understand what you already know. But first, you need to build that feeling, that deep sense of the language. And that comes from input. Let's try a small test. I will give you 2 short texts. Text 1. Yesterday I go to market. I buy apple. I happy. Text 2. Yesterday I went to the market. I bought an apple. I was happy. Which one is better? Of course, the second one. But even if you only read the first one, you still understand the meaning. And if you read many stories like that, over time, your brain will start to fix the grammar. You will say go in the beginning, but later you'll say went without even thinking. This is how babies learn, and this is how you can learn too. So remember, your brain is not your enemy. It is your friend, but only if you understand how it works. Don't fight it. Don't force it. Feed it. Feed your brain easy, interesting English every day. Not too much, just enough to enjoy. And the more you enjoy it, the faster you'll learn. It's not magic. It's not talent. It's the way your brain was designed. And it works, even when you don't notice it. In the next chapter, we will talk about the golden formula. Listen, read, speak, repeat. This is the simple way to build fluency, step by step. No stress, no pressure, just natural, powerful learning. Let's go there next. Chapter 3. The golden formula. Listen, read, speak, repeat. Now that you know how the brain learns a language, through input, not pressure, let me show you the golden formula. It's very simple. 4 steps, easy to remember, powerful when used correctly. Listen, read, speak, repeat. That's it. These 4 actions, done in the right way, can take you from 0 to confident in any language. And you don't need expensive classes, big textbooks, or a perfect accent. You just need this process and a little patience. Let's talk about the first step. Listen. Most people don't realize this, but listening is the most important part of language learning. Listening is where it all begins. It's where babies start. It's where fluency is born. You can't speak what you haven't heard. So before you worry about talking, focus on listening. Listen to English every day, even just 5 or 10 minutes. But don't listen to difficult things. Don't listen to fast news or complicated podcasts. That will only make you feel tired and confused. Instead, listen to slow, easy English. Listen to beginner podcasts. Listen to stories for learners. Listen to the same episode many times. Your brain needs to hear the words again and again. That's how they become natural. One of my students, Farah, learned English just by listening to podcasts. She didn't try to speak in the beginning. She just listened, every morning on her way to work. Short stories, English conversations, simple grammar explained slowly. After a few weeks, she started to understand more. After a few months, she started to speak without fear. Listening was her first step, and her strongest one. Now the second step, read. Reading helps you see the words you already heard. It connects your ears to your eyes. When you read, you see how the language works. You see the grammar, the spelling, the word order, all in context. But again, don't read difficult books. Don't use a dictionary all the time. Read easy stories. Read short texts with simple vocabulary. The goal is not to understand 100%. The goal is to understand enough. If you understand 90 to 98%, that's perfect. That means your brain is learning. If the book is too hard, choose something easier. And if it's boring, find something fun. Comics, children's stories, fairy tales, short dialogues, these are great for beginners. And if you can find audio with the text, even better. That way, you can listen and read together. That's the most powerful combination. The third step is the one most people are scared of. Speak. Many learners start with speaking. They try to say things from day one, but that's a mistake. Most people start by speaking, but speaking is not the first step. Listening is. Why? Because if you speak before you listen, your mouth doesn't know the sounds. Your sentences are not natural. You feel nervous. You feel blocked. But if you listen and read first, speaking becomes easier. Your brain already knows the words. Your mouth has heard the sounds. You're ready. Now, how should you speak? One great way is to repeat what you hear. This is called shadowing. You listen to a native speaker say a sentence. Then you say it with them, or just after them. You copy the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation. You don't need to understand every word, just copy. This helps you train your mouth and your brain at the same time. It's like learning a song. At first it's hard, but after a few days it becomes natural. Another way to speak is to repeat simple phrases out loud every day. How are you? I'm fine. What do you like to eat? I like rice. These small sentences are very powerful. Don't worry if they are basic. Basic is good. Basic becomes fluent, and fluent becomes confident. The last step in the golden formula is the most important. Repeat. Repeat everything. Listen again. Read again. Speak again. The brain doesn't learn from one time. It learns from many times. It needs repetition. It needs patterns. It needs to feel the language again and again. That's how fluency grows. Think of it like watering a plant. One drop is not enough, but many drops every day? The plant grows strong. Your English will grow the same way. Let me tell you about another learner, Pablo. He wanted to learn English for travel. He didn't have much time, so he made a plan. Every morning, he listened to a 5-minute podcast. He read the transcript while listening. Then he listened again, without reading. After that, he repeated the main sentences out loud. Only 20 minutes a day. After 6 months, he could talk to tourists in his city. After 1 year, he could travel alone and ask questions with confidence. He didn't go to class. He didn't buy big books. He just used the golden formula. Listen, read, speak, repeat. You can do the same. You don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to follow the process. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to keep going. Each step helps the next step. Listening helps reading. Reading helps speaking. Speaking helps memory. And repeating helps everything. So now, ask yourself, are you ready to try it? Are you ready to stop memorizing and start experiencing the language? Are you ready to build fluency the natural way? In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to make this process so easy you can't fail. We'll look at how to make learning feel fun and simple, even if you're busy. The secret: remove stress. Add joy. You'll see how. Let's go. Chapter 4. Make it so easy you can't fail. Let me ask you something simple. Have you ever tried to learn something but it felt boring or difficult? Maybe you opened a grammar book and after 5 minutes you closed it. Maybe you tried to watch a video in English, but it was too fast. You couldn't understand anything, so you gave up. That's normal. That's how most people feel, not just in language learning, but in everything. If something is too hard or boring, we don't continue. That's human nature. We stop. We quit. And then we think, maybe I'm not good at this. But the truth is different. The problem is not you. The problem is the method. If you try to climb a mountain with heavy shoes, it will feel impossible. But if the path is smooth, if your shoes are light, and if you enjoy the walk, then you will keep going. You will finish the journey. That's why this chapter is called Make It So Easy You Can't Fail. Because if your English learning feels easy and fun, you will not quit. You will win. Let's start with the big idea. Remove the pressure. You don't need to learn everything today. You don't need to understand every word. You don't need to be perfect. In fact, it's better if you relax. Enjoy the process. Trust the system. The brain learns best when it feels safe, calm, and curious, not when it feels stressed, not when it feels bored. So throw away the heavy grammar book. Close the long vocabulary list. Let's build a new way. Your way. So, how do we make English easy? First, we find the right materials. Think of learning like eating. If the food is too spicy or too bland, you won't eat it. But if the food is tasty and simple, you'll come back for more. English is the same. You need to find content that is easy, interesting, and at your level. Start with YouTube. There are many great channels for beginners. Look for slow English. Look for subtitles. Watch videos about topics you enjoy, like cooking, travel, animals, or stories. Don't watch to study. Watch to have fun. Watch like a child watches cartoons again and again. Repetition is your best friend. Next, try podcasts with transcripts. This is one of the best tools. You listen first, then you read, then you listen again. This connects your ears and eyes. It helps you understand more each time. Many learners say this is their favorite method. It feels relaxing and it works. If you don't know where to start, just search Easy English Podcast with transcript. There are many. Pick one. Start today. Now let's talk about comics. Yes, comics. Some people think comics are only for kids, but comics are powerful. Why? Because they are short. They have pictures. The language is simple. And they are fun. When you enjoy something, your brain opens. It learns faster. Try reading one comic page a day. You will see how your vocabulary grows, and how your motivation grows too. Another great tool is short stories. Stories are the natural way to learn. Before there were schools, people learned through stories. And stories still work today. Start with fairy tales. Read simple love stories, funny stories, stories with magic, stories with lessons. If you find the right level, reading will feel like play, not work. Now let's talk about a very important idea. Remove friction. What does that mean? It means make everything easy to start. If something is hard to begin, you won't do it. For example, if your English book is in the bottom of your drawer, you won't open it. But if a comic is on your table, you will read it. If you need to download a podcast every time, you won't listen. But if the podcast is saved on your phone, ready to go, you'll play it in seconds. So make your materials easy to reach. Keep a book in your bag. Add a podcast to your morning walk. Watch a video while eating lunch. No pressure, no big plan, just small, easy steps. Let's say it again, because it's the top moment of this chapter. If it's boring or hard, you will quit. But if it's easy and fun, you will win. This is not just a nice sentence. This is a truth I've seen in hundreds of students. The learners who succeed are not the smartest. They are not the fastest. They are the ones who smile while learning. They are the ones who say, "This is fun," because fun means repetition, and repetition means fluency. We call this idea fun fluency. When learning feels like a game, you play more. And when you play more, you get better without even trying. Think of a child learning to ride a bike. They fall, they laugh, they try again. They don't cry over mistakes. They just keep going because it's fun. You need to be like that child. Make your English learning feel like play. Find your favorite story. Sing along with your favorite English song. Repeat silly sentences. Watch cartoons. Enjoy yourself. I remember a student named Bilal. He didn't like grammar. He didn't like books, but he loved soccer. So I told him, watch soccer videos in English. Watch interviews with players. Read sports news. Listen to football podcasts. And he did, every day. 1 year later, he came to me and said, "I didn't study, but now I understand English." That's the power of fun fluency. He made it so easy, he couldn't fail. So today, I ask you, what do you enjoy? What makes you smile? Use that to learn English. Don't copy others. Build your own path. Just remember the rule: no pain, no gain. No, that's wrong. The real rule is no fun, no learning. But if you enjoy it, you will do it. And if you do it every day, you will grow. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to build a strong habit, so English becomes part of your daily life. No big effort, no pressure, just simple steps that lead to real fluency. Ready? Let's keep going. Chapter 5. Daily habits that actually work. So now you understand the golden formula: listen, read, speak, repeat. You also know how to make learning easy and fun. But here's the real test. Can you do it every day? That's where most learners struggle. They get excited for 1 week, maybe 2. Then life gets busy. They feel tired, distracted, or bored. And slowly, the habit disappears. The dream fades away. That's why this chapter is so important. Because habits, not motivation, are the secret to learning a language. And the good news? You don't need to study for hours. You just need a few minutes, every day. Let me introduce you to something powerful. It's called the 2-minute rule. The rule is simple. If something feels hard, make it so easy you can't say no. For example, don't say, "I will study English for 1 hour." That's too big. Say this instead: "I will listen to 1 minute of English." Or, "I will read 1 paragraph." Or, "I will speak 1 sentence." Just 2 minutes. That's it. Anyone can do that, even if you're tired or busy. And here's the magic. Once you start, you often keep going. You listen for 2 minutes, and then 5, and then 10. But even if you stop after 2 minutes, that's a win. Because you did something. And something is always better than nothing. I had a student named Amina. She worked full-time, cooked for her family, and cared for her parents. She said, "I have no time for English." I told her, "Just start with 2 minutes." So she listened to a podcast while brushing her teeth. Then she read 1 short message in English before bed. She didn't do much, but she did it every day. After 1 year, she told me, "Now English is part of my life." She didn't need a class. She just needed a habit. Now let's talk about flashcards. Many students use flashcards the wrong way. They write long lists of words and they try to memorize them with no context. That's painful, and it doesn't work well, but flashcards can help if you use them the right way. First, only write words that feel interesting or fun, not every word, just the ones you like. Second, write a short sentence with the word, not just the meaning. For example, don't write apple equals seb. Write, "I eat an apple every day." That helps your brain connect the word to meaning, sound, and emotion. Third, don't study flashcards for too long. Just 2 or 3 minutes a day. That's enough. Now let's talk about building an input loop. What's an input loop? It's a simple process. You listen, then you read, then you listen again, then maybe repeat the sentences. For example, you find a short podcast with a transcript. You listen to it once, then you read the text, then you listen again while reading, and finally, you repeat the main sentences out loud. This whole loop can take just 10 minutes, but it's one of the most powerful habits you can build. It trains your ears, your eyes, your mouth, and your brain, all at the same time. And what about tracking success? Do you need tests? Do you need grades? Number. In fact, tests can make you feel stressed, and stress blocks learning. You don't need tests. You need proof. Simple signs that show you're growing. For example, today you watched a video with 80% understanding. Next month, you understand 90%. That's progress. Today, you repeat 2 sentences. Next week, you repeat 5. That's growth. Today, you listen for 2 minutes. Next week, it's 10. That's success. Small wins matter, and they build something big. Let's say it clearly, because this is your spike moment. You don't need to study for hours. You just need 2 minutes. And then, maybe 10. That's how fluency starts. That's how habits grow. That's how change begins. Here are some real examples of small daily habits that really work. Watch one short YouTube video every morning while you drink tea. Read one English sentence on your phone when you unlock it. Listen to one podcast episode while walking or cooking. Speak one sentence to yourself in the mirror every night. Write one line in an English journal after breakfast. These don't sound like much, but when you do them every day, they change you. Because language learning is not about one big effort. It's about small steps, done again and again. One of my students, Arif, used to say, "I'm lazy. I can't learn English." But I told him, "You don't need energy. You just need a habit." So he started with one sentence a day. That's it. One short English sentence. He wrote it. Then he spoke it. Then he recorded himself saying it. Slowly he added more. Now he writes short stories in English. He says, "I didn't change my life. I changed my habits." That's the secret. So now ask yourself, what is one tiny thing you can do today? Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Can you watch one video? Can you repeat one phrase? Can you read one paragraph? Choose one thing. Do it now, and tomorrow do it again, and again, and again. That's how you grow. That's how you win. That's how you build a language. Not with pressure or stress, but with tiny habits that fit into your life. In the final chapter, we'll put it all together. You will see how all these small steps become a big success. You'll feel ready, you'll feel clear, and you'll know exactly what to do every day. Let's go.